At 29, Cooper Wilson at East Polk County DAC in Fosston may be the youngest day service executive director in Minnesota. He brings a commendable attitude, a willingness to learn, and a maturity beyond his years.
When I walked in the door the first day, I guess I don't really know what I expected other than, holy crap, this is going to be some work. We currently serve 25 clients right now, keeping pretty busy. Employment services throughout the community, some in-house projects, different things we make here that we sell. Leisure activity time. I'm brand new. I had never worked in this field before. The only connection I had to working with anyone with disabilities was for a year that I was a paraprofessional at the elementary school for kids with emotional behavioral disabilities. So even that was a little different, than developmental disabilities, but it did give me an appreciation for helping others that are, in need in a different way than most people are. Our oldest client is 71 or 72, and our youngest is 25. I grew up here in Fosston, graduated with a degree in exercise science and a minor in biology. And originally I had planned to go to chiropractic school. For whatever reason, something in my heart told me I shouldn't go do that. I was about 2 weeks from starting and backed out of it. The outdoors has really kind of always been my passion, and I ended up getting a job managing a private hunting and fishing lodge near Fergus Falls. When you come driving into Fosston, or when I was growing up, there was always a sign on either side of town that said Fosston, Minnesota, where the prairie meets the pines. And I don't know if you could have come up with a more true statement, because we are just right on the edge of where Lake Agassiz used to be. So you go west and you start getting into that Red River Valley and all that, and it just turns completely open and flat prairie. It's all agricultural land. And you head to the east and get, maybe 10 or 12 miles east of town over by Bagley, and the pine trees just erupt out of nowhere. And it just turns into that forest there, and you get that over to the Bemidji area, and that's all it is. And we're kind of in that interesting little blend of the two right on the edge there. You can kind of see those wide open spaces, but you can also go for a hike in the woods if you want to. We have a couple staff members that live on farms, and the clients love it. You take 5 or 6 of them out to the farm, see the animals, let them hop up in the tractor, and they just have a blast with it. And they, get to feel maybe a little taste of what it's like to be someone else. A lot of the clients that we have right now were around when I was in high school or even younger. So I remember seeing them. Like, we have one client in particular who would always be uptown doing things, and they used to go to the civic center in town where the swimming pool was. And when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, we'd go swim in the pool in the evenings, and I lived a block away from there, so it was easy for me to go up there. And he would always be up there walking around and talking and stuff. And now here I am, and I see him every day. So currently have 3 clients that are 1-to-1 staffing ratios. So right there, you chew up 3 staff. And then a couple others that are 1-to-2s. So yeah, we are pretty heavily staffed, but it is definitely necessary the way, our client base is. In the last maybe 6 months, I've hired 4 new staff members, and to be able to land high quality candidates for jobs is, a really big deal right now. And I feel pretty lucky to have been able to do that. I believe we're at 13 right now, including myself and our office manager. It gives us a little more freedom at times having so many staff, because, say a couple of the clients want to go, like I said, go for a ride, and whatever, one staff can take 3-4 clients and take them for a ride, and we have enough to fill in the spaces, in the building here. A great seller for us is fire starters. They burn really clean. They'll burn for about 20 minutes, and they're waterproof. I mean, it can be raining right on them. You can light it and it'll keep burning. And we sell a ton of them. We started producing wood duck boxes. You've probably seen, the wood duck house box that people might screw onto a tree or have on a post out in the lake. On a whim, we kind of started doing that. I figured the clients might enjoy it, do a little woodworking, working with some power tools, and just out of the blue in advertising on Facebook, we sold 100 of them in about 3 months. Well, that was a really fun project, and the clients loved doing that, using their hands, and doing something different, little construction type work. And yeah, it was a great thing for them. And all the money we make off of it just goes back, to the clients so that they can keep doing activities like that. And it's basically been a self-sustaining project, just based off of what we can make off of it and then what we pay the clients to build them. We're actually more in a residential area. There's a couple apartment complexes right next to it, a couple blocks, 2-3 blocks away from kind of the main road that goes north and south through town then too. Our clients typically have a day or two during the week where they're, brought up specifically uptown to go, have a cup of coffee and hang out at the gas station or the cafe, and maybe they go for a walk around town or they go to the park, something like that. And they do have opportunities to do that. And we also have a golf cart that we just take them for rides on, around town. Stop in, you see some carpenters working on a house that, always swing in, see what they're doing. It's fun, you're just hanging out, go do something, let them enjoy life a little. We have employment opportunities throughout the community. We have several enclave sites. Most of that's cleaning. Do have a couple working, one's at a gas station that also serves, some food and stuff, and he works there. He's a direct hire by them. He's quite independent and he does a nice job there. We're looking on expanding some more of those opportunities as well. We are a small town, so we are a little bit limited on the opportunities that we have, but we are lucky in the sense that there actually is quite a bit of bigger industry in town. We have, Minnesota Dehydrated Vegetable Plant, Specialty Products, which is another specialty food plant. We have an incinerator in town, Erskine Attachments, which is, all sorts of different parts for skid steers and tractors and all stuff like that, manufacturing, so there are some opportunities there that we are hoping to reach out and expand into, especially as we move forward with some of the waiver reimagined stuff and trying to get, more direct hires out in the community, more, options for our clients out in the community. We got pretty lucky when it came down to it with all the COVID. We did have several clients contract COVID. I had COVID at one point. And in the year that I've been working here, we shut down one time for a week. And that was when I had COVID and I think we had 14 clients had COVID. And it was running through everybody. And that was late November here, was up in this area is when our huge spike was. And it was crazy. And we got really lucky. We got through that. Everyone got through all right. And then we were able to receive some grants that really helped us along the way, with lost revenue. Also allowed us to do some building improvements that were much needed. And along with that, it made things a lot easier to, mitigate COVID with things easier to clean surfaces, automatic doors, things like that, and that's great for a lot of our clients anyways who don't get around very well. They can just push a button and they can walk through the door. I guess I didn't realize just how much actually went into every day, just the little things that add up. You get there in the morning and you just think, okay, we're going to get through the day and we're going to go do this today. This is their schedule, da, 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 da. And before you know it, it's noon and you haven't done hardly anything you had on your own schedule because there's been so much other stuff going on. And not that it even was a bad day or anything, it's just like the amount of moving parts that there constantly are, and I didn't necessarily realize how many different things our clients do, what some of them are capable of. Some days it feels like all I'm doing is running around and putting out tiny little fires all over the place, and it's like it takes your whole day, and before you know it, it's 4 o'clock and you felt like you haven't done anything but just run around like a chicken with your head cut off. Right away, I was a new guy. Nobody knew me, with the exception of, some of our staff members and a handful of our clients. And right away, I'd have a client come into my office and say they missed the old director, because they'd been attached to her, and that's the way it was, and that was fine. I understand. And now, if I'm gone I was gone for 3 days for the legislative conference and the Moore retreat there. And I came back in on Monday and client comes into my office, I missed you, man. It's gone for 3 days. So I don't know. I enjoy that, and there's plenty of them. You can kind of, you can trade jokes with them, poke fun at them. They'll throw it right back at you. I enjoy that too. That's, for me, that's one of the little things in life I enjoy is, giving someone crap and they give it right back to me. So I love it when there's, obviously you got to know the client too, but I love it when there's one that you can do that with. Thankfully, I've had a lot of helpful other directors in our region to give me, some pointers and some tips, and to help me along the way too. Between them and my office manager, I can honestly say that I probably would have drowned in the first 5 months of this job, because there was days where I just didn't know how I was going to do any of it. You get used to the way things work a little bit, just to help keep your feet underneath you. And not that being used to something is necessarily the best thing in the world, because then you're not really trying to move forward, but just enough to understand what needs to be done on a day-to-day basis can really help you out. That's one thing that I feel like I've got somewhat of a grasp on at this point, but there's a lot to learn still. People generally have a pretty good aura surrounding the DAC. They know what we do. A lot of people know us for recycling. We do aluminum can recycling, and then we used to do a lot of other electrical stuff. We'd strip wires and pull the copper out, but we still do the can recycling. And we also do newspaper shredding. We'll shred it and bring it to recycling as well. But can recycling is a good one for us. People bring in their cans, we pay them for them, and then we crush them. They see our clients throughout the community. They know that we work at a couple of the gas stations and many other places throughout town, the hardware store, all over the place. And a lot of people around town know our clients, on a first name basis, and talk to them when they're out there, and which is great. That's fun to see that they're, accepted into the community like that. What it comes down to really is attitude, though, because any day can be a good day if you look at it through, the right light. If you go into the day thinking, I don't want to be here, and this just isn't for me right now, then of course you're not going to have a good day. And I would be lying if I didn't tell you that I didn't have a few of those days when we were first starting out, just because I felt so overwhelmed. But moving forward, I think that's definitely changed. I'm just doing my best and see where it takes us.
Click the like button and subscribe to Moore's channel to see more.